We are in day, I don't even know, let's say 40 of Steelers quarterback held hostage. What are you doing?
I'm marking the days.
Yeah, I'm marking the days.
We're in prison.
We are in
purgatory.
We are in Steelers quarterback purgatory right now. Between now and the beginning of between now and game one, that's all we're going to talk about is who is going to be the quarterback. I don't want to say I'm sick of it because there's still a lot to talk about and there's still a lot that's going to happen. But my goodness, folks, there's other things going on in the world.
Nothing's more important than this, Joe. And for the better part of mine and Andrew's lives, man, we've never had this conversation before. Not to throw shade in any other direction in this trio, but it's such a weird space to be in, to be legitimately talking about drafting a quarterback in the first round or going after some of the biggest names in the NFL. And for once, you know how annoying it gets in the offseason when every time somebody gets cut or they're announced they're going to be a free agent or they unfollow everybody on social media and you're like, the Steelers can't sign everybody.
Right. The Steelers should get them.
The Steelers can't sign everybody. So we have genuine hopes that they can go off and get these guys when
they have the cap space for once.
Right. When the Kyler Murray stuff happened, I wanted to roll my eyes and I was like, you know what? There's that slim possibility. I'm just going to be open for it. I have painted myself into a space where I'm happy almost no matter what they do, because eventually they're going to get it right because that's what they do. And if I have to wait 20 years like other people in this fan base had, so be it. I've had a fantastic first 18 years of this fan base.
Thank you. They're going to get it right eventually. Andrew, what do you think?
You don't sound quite as optimistic as me.
So I think it's going to take another miracle draft pick, like we got with Ben. Like Ben was what, the 16th pick overall,
11th
or 11th. Like we got him, and he happened to be the savior of the franchise at that time. There's not going to be. We're not gonna move up or down, and we're not gonna like trade draft picks or get draft picks this year or next year or even the following year and get this like savior of the franchise. It's gonna be a while.
Maybe we will.
I will say, to Andrew's point,
No.
To Andrew's first point, think about the perfect storm. Ben was the third quarterback selected in that draft. We're going into a draft that has 6 seriously unproven guys. What are the odds that you take the one that can lead you to another 18 years of consistency? The odds aren't in your favor.
Well, no. And not even that. I'm just saying, like, look at the years in between, like, the Super Bowl winning years, which was the 70s, and then we won in the 2000s. Like, look at the quarterbacks between then. Like, we had Tommy Maddox, we had Cordell Stewart, we had Neil O'Donnell, we had we had quasi decent quarterbacks, just not Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. So I'm not confident in us drafting the next Super Bowl winning quarterback in this draft. So I think I've seen us, Jimmy Garoppolo, Marcus Mariota, like I've seen a bunch of stuff. So what the Steelers end up doing, I don't think it's a Super Bowl winning team next year.
So, no, not at all.
You never
unless
know.
You get Aaron Rodgers. That's the only way.
Yeah, I don't think we have the capital to bring him in.
Where was the Cincinnati Bengals a year ago?
True.
They were a mess. They were drafting number 6 overall, and they were wondering, should we get a wide receiver? Should we get an offensive lineman? Should we get Penny Sewell or Jamar Chase. What are we going to do? Look where they're at now. You never know. This could be a Super Bowl team.
You've got the defense for it. And I mean, I say only Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. There's a lot of dudes that can overcome the bad offensive line, and you still recruit the value of
I don't think
giving up those.
Wilson for I don't think you get Russell Wilson for anywhere near the money the Steelers have.
The Steelers have some of the most cap space in the NFL. And on top of that, if you trade away that draft capital, you don't have to eat that much in cap space when you make that trade. You're going to be able to go sign people on the offensive line to help bolster that. You've got a Super Bowl winning defense if you shore up one corner to kind of be there when Joe Hayden's not available if you bring him back. And maybe that's a little bit optimistic, but you have a lot of potential and star power at wide receiver. If you can hold on to Juju, you've got young superstars in Pat Freiermuth and Najee Harris. You fix the offensive line, you find your quarterback, a lot can happen. Joe's absolutely right. Since the Cincinnati Bengals haven't been to a Super Bowl since 1988, they hadn't won a playoff game in 31 years. And in 2 days, they're going to play for a championship that a lot of people think they can win, despite all of the defensive talent on the Los Angeles Rams defense. So you absolutely never know. I fully agree with Joe.
But let's roll something out. Do you think they'll make a trade for a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo? I'm not even sure who else is out there. Do you think they will trade? They will give up draft picks, which they need. They still have a lot of needs. I don't see them making a trade for a quarterback. I see them trading up to draft a quarterback, but I don't see them trading for a Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson or even a Jimmy G. What do you guys think?
You tell me who the next GM is. And couple that with the fact that Stephen Colbert isn't retiring until after the draft. I will say it's more likely
Kevin Colbert.
What did I say?
Stephen Colbert.
That's hilarious.
Stephen Colbert.
Kevin Colbert
That's hilarious.
is going to host a late night show, and
Yes.
Stephen Colbert is going to become the next GM of the Steelers. You have heard it here first. We're going from Colbert to Colbert.
There we go. But with Kevin Colbert not retiring until after the draft, it does make it kind of precarious. Is Colbert willing to make that kind of move before his final draft? Is he more willing to go out with a bang by trading up and going and getting his guy? Because you don't have to trade all the way up to 2 or 3 or maybe even 4. You just got to get in the top 10 and you can snag whoever you want. So
maybe even later.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not keen on waiting for your quarterback to fall to you, because if you think he can fall, then you are already admitting faults in his game that make him less valuable.
All right, so in the draft, who do you think the Steelers should go for?
Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, so Jacob, you were just in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. What do you think? What have you learned from the Senior Bowl? What do you think about, let's say, the quarterback prospects?
You didn't need binoculars to know that Mike Tomlin was making goo-goo eyes at Malik Willis.
That's the scuttlebutt. That's what people are saying. That it is a very poorly kept secret that they want Malik. Yeah,
and think of how poorly they kept the secret last year that they wanted Najee Harris. They don't care what everybody else knows. No. They're going to be willing to make whatever moves that are necessary to do what they want and what they feel is best for the franchise. I will say Malik had a fantastic week at the Senior Bowl. A lot of people left very impressed with him. However, there is the space within scouting talent where he did a lot of things at the Senior Bowl that he didn't show on tape, such as throwing the ball away and protecting his body and those types of things. I really liked Sam Howell, which I really didn't have a good opinion of him heading down there, but watching him in practice, he was pretty freaking terrific. Kenny Pickett is well-spoken, and he seems to really care about being a real deal guy, but there's something off about him, and maybe it's because I have bigger hands than him and I'm not an NFL quarterback prospect. Yeah, I mean, dude, they're small. They are, and he hides them in his pocket, and he wears gloves. And he was not good on the day that that it rained for 5 hours and we stood out there and watched him. I wouldn't draft Carson Strong in the first 2 rounds, and Desmond Ridder, I wouldn't trust to be your quarterback within the first 3 years of his career. So as far as those guys go, then there's Matt Corral, who's a different prospect entirely, and I think is probably the best quarterback in the class. But I don't think you can get Matt Corral. I think he'll go probably top 5. A team will trade up and try to do that. Malik Willis, you might be able to get around 7 or 8. I don't know. Just kind of spitballing a little bit. But the Steelers, they clearly love Malik Willis, and it's for good reason. He's a fantastic player with a lot of tools.
Okay, so let's talk about Malik Willis. He is from Liberty, which is a red flag. Now where did he start at?
Auburn.
He started at Auburn. He started at Auburn. Yes, Andrew.
Hold up. Why is him starting at Liberty a red flag?
Small school.
I don't follow college football the way you guys do. So
small school. That's why. Because it wasn't a Power 5 school.
Big Ben came from Ohio of Miami. So.
That was 20 years ago.
Liberty made the jump to D1 while Malik Willis was there.
Okay.
So that kind of, but the reason he left Auburn was not because of his lack of skills. It was because Auburn had a legacy quarterback starting at the time. There was no path to the job within that time frame, right? Which, that guy transferred, and there's a whole bunch of problems at Auburn right now because of that. But with Malik Willis, I don't think the small school thing hampers him. Now, it surprisingly, you look at the trends of what the Steelers draft, and small school guys ain't it. But at quarterback, one time they made that exception, and it paid off really, really well. That doesn't mean there's necessarily a correlation there, but if you love your guy, and he was talented enough to play at a higher level, he just so happened to not to. And he was coached by a Power 5 type coach in Hugh Freeze, who just so happens to not coach Power 5 programs. Why not him?
Who would you say he compares to? I've heard Cam Newton. I've heard Josh Allen. I've heard Lamar Jackson. We're talking a dual threat here. We're talking a guy that could run and pass. We're talking a guy that has great raw tools, great raw potential. Jacob, do you have any like any comps that you could think of?
I don't think it's fair to comp him to Josh Allen or to Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson or anybody like that, because first of all, he's a lot smaller than all those guys. He's about 6'1", 220, right?
Yeah.
So
so it's Kyler Murray.
Well, no, Kyler Murray's way smaller than that. No, I mean, he's not small. He's just smaller than those guys. And those guys are, at least fringe Hall of Famers, so it's kind of hard.
He's built like a running back, right?
I'd say he's still built like a quarterback.
Okay.
And I don't think he might be built closer to Jalen Hurts without being quite as stocky. You could play Jalen Hurts at running back and believe it. I don't think that's quite the case for Malik Willis, but I will say he's not the kind of guy who is always trying to run. He's not oblivious to pressure. He's not scared of pressure. He's not bailing on clean pockets. He's trying to win with his arm, and he's made strides over the course of his career in trying to improve that part of his game. And he was already really talented at it to begin with. So it's more of a lot of people want to put him in that Josh Allen page because he has so many tools to work with, a ridiculously strong arm, a lot of athleticism, but you have to rein it all in to get that perfect storm that Josh Allen is. And that's where people kind of want to try to make that comparison. But as a player, maybe not so much.
So the quarterback that I'm very familiar with is Kenny Pickett from University of Pittsburgh.
Of course you are.
Now, Kenny Pickett is someone who is way more polished, way more experienced. However, has a much, I don't want to say much lower ceiling, but has a lower ceiling than someone like a Malik Willis, who has, the immense potential of physical tools. And that's the thing is, where do you go? Do you go with someone that has limitations, or someone that has a lot more potential, but also can crap out too, because they won't make the transition to higher competition? That's the question. And then will they be available?
Right. I think it's funny with Kenny Pickett. So many people want to throw the Joe Burrow thing at him because he exploded in his final year. Well, let's not act like the first 4 years didn't exist of his career either. He was pretty mid, right? So to have that explosion is quite impressive. He's fully worth a first round pick, but you can't be throwing Joe Burrow comparisons at a dude that is nowhere near the talent caliber of Joe Burrow.
If he was Joe Burrow, we'd be talking about him number one overall pick.
Right.
So there you go, right there.
Somebody would be trying to trade with the Jaguars. The Jags can't give away the number one pick. Right. There's no quarterback worth that space.
From what I understand, this draft is not nearly as talented as last year's draft. Like the top players from this draft would not make the top 10 of last year's draft.
I mean, it depends. It depends on the position.
Right.
Yeah, I would disagree with that pretty strongly. I think the offensive linemen in this class are pretty freaking ridiculous. I think the edge rushers in this class are insane through like the first 3 or 4 rounds. I think the corners are really deep at the top. And the wide receivers are really, really strong at the top, but then it really thins out as you go through. The problem is that there's so many quarterbacks with name recognition who you just don't know if you're willing to hitch your horse to them.
Well, that's the thing is maybe the quarterbacks don't deserve to be drafted in the top 10, but maybe they'll still end up being drafted in the top 10 because they're quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We've seen that in the past. Look at guys like Jake Locker and Christian Ponder and EJ Manuel. Those guys had no business. None. And there's going to be some of those guys in this class.
So I'm looking at a mock draft on NFL.com, Lance Zierlein, and he has the first quarterback going to Washington at 11, and that's Kenny Pickett.
The Commanders get their guy.
Commanders.
Go Cobra!
I'm sorry, I killed the show. Dead sentence.
They're the commies. We've gone commie.
Go commies. Go commies.
Commies.
Wait a minute. I'm supposed to root for America.
Yeah, Cobra Commander should be their mascot.
Go Cobra.
Okay, so in this mock draft, they have the Steelers trading up to 17 to get Malik Willis. Trading from 20 to 17 is not, you're not giving up a whole lot. You're probably giving up like a third.
We're
or
at
something.
21, right?
A 20.
20.
So moving up 3 spots is no.
You're giving up more than you'd like to, though. I don't know. Like, I'd rather.
It depends on what you give up at that point, though.
Yeah, but I mean, first round picks, even if you're just moving a couple of spots, like you still got to give up quite a load. And I stand firm. If you're gonna draft a quarterback in this class, get in the top 10 to do it. Put utter faith in your guy to go do it.
Well, except for the fact that they didn't do that for Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger was like, what, the 11th pick?
He was the 11th pick, but this was also a draft with Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers.
And it was 18 years ago. It's completely different NFL.
But you know,
true. And Jacob, you're not wrong. I'm just saying, like,
I mean, you know, going back,
you can bait and switch a little bit.
Going back you know, one thing that really annoys me right now is that the Steelers made a mistake in trading for Minka because they would have ended up with Justin Herbert. Please stop with this. If we knew what Justin Herbert was, he would have gone either number 1 overall or number 2 overall. Or
if you had that pick, you're still not taking Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
So,
you're not.
Just no. I was agreeing with you.
Okay. There's no way they'd take it.
Please stop with this 2020 hindsight time machine bull crap.
Okay.
Like,
we are on the same page.
Yeah, we're on the same page. No,
I'm just way better for this team than having that.
I'm just tired of the Steelers. The Steelers should have never traded for Minka. Like, Minka was a gift from heaven. Thank you, Dolphins, for giving away. There's 2 gifts that the Steelers have been blessed with: Joe Hayden from the Browns and Minka Fitzpatrick from the Dolphins. They just, from the goodness of the Browns and the Dolphins' hearts, they just decided to give away these awesome defensive players, and we're very thankful for it. But stop with this.
In nobody Padre.
Yeah. And with your spirit. Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah, let's just stop with that. But who knows? I mean, you know, we're going to look at mock drafts and we're going to look at rankings in mid-February, and 2 months from now, we're going to laugh. There's going to be so many things that are going to happen between now and then.
Free agency still has to happen.
Free agency has.
We don't know the whole story on anything.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
I am perfectly okay. I am rooting, and I probably am the only one. I would like to see Jameis Winston. I would like to take a chance on him.
Ooh.
I wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't hate
Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Mitchell Trubisky, Jimmy Garoppolo, thumbs down.
All right.
Are we all on the same page here?
No. Mitchell Trubisky?
Absolute
no. Absolute no.
Okay. Good.
Absolute no. I have a friend that is a diehard Bears fan, and he has sung to me, like, in chorus all the things to hate about Mitchell Trubisky. So, no Trubisky. Garoppolo, I don't care about. If he's there, he's there.
See,
Garoppolo would die behind this offensive line.
Yeah, I think so.
You'd be dead.
That's the thing. Anybody would die behind this offensive line. The offensive line needs to be fixed.
Mariota might not.
Mariota wouldn't die behind it.
Mariota would be nice.
Mariota
would be really intriguing because the brief times that he's played for the Raiders, he's actually looked good. That might.
Mariota could scramble.
Can I lay out what I think is actually the Steelers' perfect scenario in my head?
What's that?
I think it is using this capital wisely in free agency, building the offensive line, getting Mariota to come in and compete with Mason Rudolph. He'll almost assuredly beat him out. And if he doesn't, Rudolph will fall flat on his face. Mariota can take over. And you hold on to your draft capital. You still feel comfortable to move up and get offensive lineman or cornerback or whatever playmaker you think you need to make. And you still get to keep so much more draft capital. You can draft somebody in the 3rd round, like a Bailey Zappi or a Caleb Ellaby out of Western Michigan, like dudes that have tools. They just don't carry the name weight. Or a Carson Strong, if you feel so inclined. I don't know why the Steelers would do it. They want somebody with mobility, but you create an environment that if you are bad this year, you have at least put pieces in front of the next quarterback. If you're in position to draft higher next year in a class that is a little bit more solidified in who its top prospects will be in Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Both those guys have already proven to be fantastic. Not that they're expected to be fantastic like Spencer Rattler was. So I feel like you harvest a roster that is built to go in either direction very quickly. And if you find the guy this year, if Mariota is fixed or if Mason Rudolph can be the guy with the right pieces, or if they suck, you've got the quarterback. And everything, you're able to transition into this next era seamlessly. That's just how it works in my head.
Let's talk about what needs to be done on the offensive line. We got left
If your name's
tackle.
not Kevin Green.
Well, okay, we'll get to him, but left tackle Dan Moore Jr. Make him a backup, replace. What do you think?
Guard.
No, not more.
No,
Like,
he's a tackle. He's a tackle, but I think the only way you move him from left tackle is if you sign a superstar or if you draft a superstar, somebody who everybody is already aware, okay, that dude is legit. And there's plenty of guys like that in the draft. There's plenty of guys that are going to be in the free agent pool. That's the only way you move him to right tackle, and you go from there. If you can't get that guy, keep him at left tackle.
All right.
I think it's okay. Left guard. Who the heck was the left guard? Oh, Dotson.
Keep Dotson. Why did I say Kevin Green? Who the hell's Kevin Green?
Do we keep Dotson?
Yes. Dotson's fantastic.
He's okay. Dotson's okay. Center is Kendrick Green. What do we do? Get him? Do we move him to guard? Make him a backup? What do we do?
Move him to guard. He wasn't born to be a center.
Yeah, that's true.
He wasn't born with the arms to be a guard either. He's
just backup material.
I have faith in him. He's training with Marcus Pouncey right now.
Yeah, Marcus.
Dude, Pouncey. Glue played better than this dude at times.
I'm not. I'm not saying his technique is perfect. I like his aggressiveness. I like him as a guard. I think he'd be a good guard. I don't like him as a center.
Here's the thing: if you stay at 20, and the quarterback that you loved is gone, and all those fantastic tackles are gone, but Tyler Linderbaum is still there at 20.
Oh, you snatch him up in a heartbeat.
You don't waste any time filling out that card.
You snatch him in a heartbeat.
Because he is infinitely better than this dude. 100%.
Now there is another offensive line prospect that I've heard a lot of that probably will be available at 20, and that's Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. Do you like him, Jacob?
That dude's mean as hell.
Yeah.
No idea who. I don't follow college.
Oh, dude, no.
Dude is
just go on Twitter and search his name and look at these videos. Dude, he is a straight up bully. He's an asshole, to put it politely.
But the only thing I've heard is he's not from a Power 5 school, so
he's not. No, he's from
so that could
Iowa.
be a drawback. And if you look at the Steelers' history, their draft history, they always draft from Power 5 in the first round.
They like to find those offensive linemen from Bloomberg, on the streets.
Right.
They don't want to draft
undrafted free agent. Right.
But at the same time, though, this dude, he's mean. He's a guy who is worth that space. Just because if you work yourself into that role and then you perform like he did at the Senior Bowl, as mean as he was, the defensive lineman that he practiced with all week named him the offensive lineman of the week for their team. And, he needs some work in his pass protection, but overall he's got all the tools you could possibly ask for. He's a monstrous human being. I would, if you can't find somebody to replace Dan Moore, then at right tackle, Trevor Penning, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I would love him. So really an ideal scenario for Kendrick Green is backup, center, and guard. Basically, he could play both positions, have him play both positions and be the backup in case someone gets hurt.
He can he can have JC Hassenauer's job.
Thank you. Right guard Trey Turner, get him out of there. Go. Thank you for playing. Bye. Right tackle Chooks, or Zach Banner. Bye. So really we're looking at replacing 3 positions
on the offensive line.
I think you can do it.
I think it's doable. I think it's doable either through free agency or the draft.
Yeah, it's doable, but look at what they did in the offseason last year. They knew they were weak on the offensive line, and they did nothing.
Because they had no cap
space.
Now they have plenty of cap space. They have more. They have one of the higher amounts of cap space.
I mean, I
know
they have the cap space this year, but like, all right. Well, let's see what they do.
Let's see what they do. Hopefully, we'll see. There's going to be there's just so much that's going to happen between now and the draft, between now and a month from now when there's free agency starts, and then between free agency and the draft, there's going to be a lot going on. The league is going to turn upside down. I'm telling you,
it really is. I mean, think about it. We're in a league where Tom Brady is in
it.
You know, I go ahead, Jacob.
Well, this kind of goes on something we were touching on a little bit earlier about what's more likely for them to do, take the quarterback in free agency or trade up. Well, think about all these guys they're interviewing for GM. And one of those guys being Louis Riddick, who hasn't been around in 8 years in a front office, but was damn good when he was in it. And he's one of the smartest people employed at ESPN, bar none. So if you're interviewing guys like that and an old regime is leaving, Mike Tomlin knows that something's got to change to get this team back in the Super Bowl. Is the team evolving its strategy a little bit? Like, I understand Andrew's hesitation. This team never overspends in free agency, even when it has cap space. It's something they've never done. They've always built through the draft.
Right.
Well, for the past couple of years, that hasn't always worked out. Even when you've had guys that played marginally okay as draft picks, they weren't sustainable guys that you could keep on the roster for 8, 9, 10 years. So maybe there's a chance that they're evolving their strategy just a tad. Look at the Rams, dude. They don't draft anybody. They give their picks away.
They trade their first round draft pick every single year, and look where they're at.
They went all in this season.
Yeah.
They went all in this season, and look where they are.
So, they've went all in the past couple of years, but they don't have a salary cap because they have finagled these traded contracts to where they're not really having to pay anybody.
It's this year or bust, and they're gonna suck.
About to win a Super Bowl. So.
Well, it paid off. They took a huge gamble. They paid off, but long term they're screwed. But anyway, I forgot what I was going. Oh, it was insanely unfair to tell a guy you drafted in the 3rd round and a guy you drafted, I believe Dan Moore Jr. was in the 4th round. Hey, you're our starter day one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was insanely unfair for Kendrick Green and Dan Moore Jr. And Moore did okay. Green not so much, but still, that's a terrible position to put these guys in. And I know that wasn't the plan. It wasn't the plan for the cap to go down. They got hit with a lot of crap, but still, okay, fine. That what happened. But how about this year? We have, no matter who we draft, let them sit behind an established starter. Get
think
people
about
in free
it
agency.
too, though. This time last year, the only guy we expected to replace was Allie. We only expected to lose Villanueva. We didn't know DeCastro was going to retire. We didn't know that Pouncey was going to retire.
That's true.
That's
true. We
figured, you'd be able to use some capital on an offensive lineman to have Chooks fight, or that Banner would be able to come back. We didn't see any of this coming. We sure as hell didn't think that Kevin Dotson was going to be out for the year with an ankle either. So,
That's true.
It was an unfortunate situation all on its own, but it was one that was halfway bred because of Ben's contract. Now that is gone and done away with, whoever's at under center now, they should be able to spend the money to protect that guy.
Thank you.
Yeah, but they gotta make it worth the while and protect that guy. So Mason Rudolph is not that guy. So
no, I agree.
I think what are the odds? What are the percentage chance that Mason Rudolph is your starter in game 1? I say 50-50.
I hope absolute 0, because I do not want Mason Rudolph taking another snap in an actual game for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, prepare to be disappointed.
I think the odds are even greater than 50-50. Yeah. I think that's like a 65%
he is a
chance.
Terrible quarterback.
Okay, in his defense,
No.
He only played one game. Let me finish. He only played one game, and that was the Detroit game, and he was absolutely horrible in that. However, he was not supposed to be the starter in that game. Ben gets COVID. They find out Ben got COVID the night before, and they basically just threw Mason in. Not to give excuses for the guy. I mean, it's freaking Detroit. You can't beat Detroit, but still.
Not to mention the weather, not to mention that Freiermuth and Johnson both fumbled in overtime that had nothing to do with him. I'm just saying, the last couple of times we've seen Rudolph, it hasn't been as bad as it had been at times when he lost the job to Duck Hodges.
Dwayne Haskins for the win.
Hey,
over Mason Rudolph.
Maybe it will be Dwayne Haskins. Maybe Dwayne Haskins. Hey, we're talking about Malik Willis and all these amazing, all these amazing physical attributes that he's supposed to have. What about Dwayne Haskins, who was drafted high,
11th overall?
If the Steelers add a quarterback this offseason that is intended to compete for the job, meaning one of these high-profile free agents or somebody in the first 3 rounds, Dwayne Haskins won't be on the roster in preseason. He'll be somewhere else.
It could be.
You think?
It very well could be. It could be. We don't.
I said it right here on the donut bag.
All right.
End of story.
It could happen.
He's not that guy either.
Jacob said it.
If he was that guy, we wouldn't be talking about Mike Tomlin making goo eyes at Malik Willis. We would be talking about him making goo eyes at what's his face? We just talked about Trevor Penning, or some other offensive lineman, or a Devin Lloyd, who I mean, there's a lot of ways, the linebacker. So there's a lot of ways you could go there.
I mean, there's a lot of ways a mobile quarterback makes your offensive line better. So,
do you know who had the longest rush from scrimmage for the Steelers up until the final week of the season?
Mason Rudolph.
Michael Vick.
Mason
Rudolph. Yeah.
Really? Michael Vick didn't have it?
Michael Vick didn't play football.
Well, no, we're talking about last year.
Oh. I thought you meant all time.
Mason Rudolph.
Michael Vick might have had it.
Mason Rudolph has. I mean, there are times when he looked pretty
Sorry,
pretty
I
mobile.
Got the alert. TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year. Yay!
Breaking news. I mean, even Aaron Donald's like, yeah, TJ's winning. So.
What?
I watched so many. I watched so many interviews, and they're like, "Really, you're gonna come at TJ Watt for this?"
It was TJ's year. He deserved it. I mean, how many games did TJ Watt have a significant hand in winning? I'm guessing 3 or 4.
He just absolutely wrecked games.
How many games did we win? That's how many.
Absolutely right. When he even gave us a shot against the Chiefs, like
when he wasn't in there. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he led to a score. And when he wasn't in there, when he wasn't playing, the defense was completely different and much worse. Yeah. So there's almost your definition of an MVP right there. So yeah, he
played 15 games and broke the sack record. Like that to me is just like, that's enough. Like you're already like that good. So yeah,
I'm so happy for that, man. It is about damn time.
He should have deserved to win it last year. I mean, Aaron Donald, for whatever it's worth, Aaron Donald is an amazing defensive player. So I will not take anything away from that, man. But TJ deserves to win it this year.
If you were to rank all defensive players in the NFL right now, I'd say there's a God tier, and there's 3 people in that: TJ Watt, Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett. Would you agree?
Definitely, 100%.
Who's that player for the Cowboys?
Micah Parsons.
I think.
Give me 2 or 3 more years of that.
Right. Yeah, he's on his way.
All right.
He's on his way.
Definitely on his way.
I'm talking this season. This particular season, I would put him in that category.
But to be a rookie defensive player in the conversation for overall defensive player of the year,
right?
Not just rookie of the year. That's
right.
pretty damn impressive.
Total respect. He's amazing.
Exactly.
He's amazing.
That's why I'm saying put him in that conversation. I don't know what he's going to do for the next couple of years. Passers are probably going to avoid him. He's probably going to never get that number of interceptions again.
Well, we'll see.
Well, that was Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But speaking of TJ Watt and that defense, they better do something about that defensive line. I think they need to replace Stephon Tuitt. So
is Tua coming back next year?
Probably not.
You have to plan. I think you have to plan as if he's not. I really do.
I agree. I think he's done. I think he's done. So and that was the biggest weakness. That was the biggest weakness of the defense, was that defensive line. If they just had a good line. It was
basically Cam Hayward just like holding down everything.
Yeah, it was. They desperately they really need to do something about that. What else did they? I think they need another. I think Schobert is not the answer at inside linebacker, and you also need Devin Bush insurance. So I think you need another good inside linebacker. I think that was another.
I would take, but I agree with you. I would keep Schobert and draft another inside linebacker because Devin Bush. I'm ready to cut him.
I think the problem with Schobert is he makes a lot of money.
Schobert's gone.
You think he's gone?
He's 100% gone.
Really?
Schobert.
He makes that much money?
He makes $9 million.
Yeah. I didn't realize.
Actually, I'm sorry. He makes $10 million. His cap number is $9.7 million. By the way,
100% gone.
Tuitt's cap number
is that much money. Then get him gone.
Tuitt,
he made the most tackles on the Steelers based on my fantasy league.
Yeah, but that's because the line was so bad. I mean, Minka made a bunch of tackles too. You don't want your safety making all those tackles. It was
not 8, 9, 10 yards down the field.
No,
I won fantasy
Schobert and Devin Bush were a big problem. I think with Devin Bush, you just hope for the best that he figures it out and that he recovers, totally from his injury and he goes back to form, because otherwise, if
Devin Ryan Chase here to come back,
if Devin Bush does not, if Devin Bush craps out and that was a bust, that's a big black eye on this team, considering they had to trade up to get him, and for that to fail, that was a really bad look.
And that's the last thing you want, is to be burned off of doing that ever again. You love a player, you should go get him. And if it doesn't work out, man, it just doesn't work out. But I think, finally getting healthy will do a lot for him. Hopefully I'm right on that.
Yeah. And I mean, again, he got a lot of criticism for why didn't you make so many tackles or whatever. It's like, well, hey, listen, when your defensive line is that bad, it doesn't matter. You could have Ray Lewis in his prime. You're going to have problems. That line, that defensive line was just a major problem. So that's something they need to definitely fortify. But yeah, I mean, if they, and then they're not going to have that much. Okay, so they would save $4 million if they cut to it. And so no, they would save $10 million if they cut to it, and they would save only a couple million if they cut Schobert. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, then cut to it and add a decent defensive lineman.
You gotta
bring Aaron Donald in.
And bring in Aaron Donald. There you go. There's Aaron Donald. Myles Garrett can be a backup. Micah Parsons. We could we got something there. We got to go.
There you go.
Might be a long shot, but I'm gonna throw it out into the universe anyway. JJ Watt. I don't know what his contract status is. I should probably be more responsible and look at what his contract status is.
Let's get the Watts back together.
But the only reason, probably the only reason he didn't come here was because he wasn't going to be a starter, right? If Tuitt's not here, there's a wide open space for him.
Oh my God. Can you imagine the Watt brothers on one side of the line
You know, it'd be funny if they got JJ
alone,
and they cut Derek.
No, the intimidation factor alone, like offensive line would just be like, all right, I'm ready, I think.
I'm doing the responsible thing and looking at his contract.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. His cap number is 16 million. So, because I think he signed at least a 2-year contract with Arizona.
He signed, 2-year contract, 28 million, 12 million signing, 14 on the salary. So he is. I mean, well, they have void years at 24 and 25, so his contract gets more expensive the longer that he's on the roster. But those years are wildly inexpensive. This 2022 year is the most expensive year on his contract. So maybe not, but I mean,
maybe not in 2022, but maybe in 2023 is more realistic.
Maybe so.
And still, I'd be okay with that. I think that would be awesome. And I think
he's 34 years old. That's not terrible.
We have the good offensive line, and we won the Super Bowl that year. Yeah.
The Watt brothers. Oh, that would be amazing.
And down the Watt.
He does have a no trade clause, but I would imagine he would open that up for the Steelers.
You got to play with your family. You got to play with your yeah.
Where are the Watts? Where are the Watts originally from?
Wisconsin.
Oh.
That's why he was tied to the Packers too.
Oh, hey Joey, I just saw your new episode drop.
So who's winning the Super Bowl?
Rams.
I don't know.
Rams.
I think it's a toss-up.
Oh, I think it's a toss-up. I just I'm morally obligated to root against anybody from the AFC North that's not the Steelers.
So it's funny. It's funny. Basically, if you're a Steelers fan and you say I like the Bengals, you're basically a traitor. You're Benedict on.
Here's the thing: when
I don't like that narrative. I hate that.
I hate that stuff. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, because here's the thing: when Tom Brady led that comeback in Super Bowl 51, I decided that day I'm not going to hate greatness anymore. I have plenty of reason to not like Joe Burrow. I respect the hell out of him because he is flat out incredible. It is insane what he is capable of doing. But at the same time, it's about damn time that Matthew Stafford got his. You know, all those years in Detroit, and he comes to a dream team down in LA, and they finagle the cap space. Cooper Kupp's one of the best in the league. They got a fantastic running game too, great defensive line. And for all the reasons that the Bengals aren't supposed to be there, it doesn't seem to matter. He got sacked 9 times against the Titans, was under constant pressure against the Chiefs, and still found ways to escape that. You know, it doesn't matter that their offensive line is that bad for them because they have such a fantastic quarterback in Burrow. They have incredible receivers. Joe Mixon's insane, and their defense is just quality enough. And I saw a graphic this morning, just so happened to see it. Now, obviously, this is a different Cooper Kupp, but Mike Hilton is considerably better than the last time that they met up. Mike Hilton shut out Cooper Kupp the last time they played against each other.
I don't believe that for a second.
I don't know if he'll do it again.
I don't believe
I want to see
Matthew
Stafford. I want to see Matthew Stafford win it, just because he got such a bum deal in Detroit for so long. Yeah. Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. I mean, he's not the biggest, fastest, strongest like wide receiver in the league, but he just finds a way to make plays. Go Cooper Kupp. OBJ, say what you want about him. I think it says a lot that he couldn't do anything in Cleveland, but he comes out and does stuff for the Rams.
He's OBJ again.
Yeah. He's not bad.
He's not
pretty damn incredible.
Receiver. I just think he's underutilized in Cleveland.
Well, you have okay. We mentioned Stafford, OBJ, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey. These are all people that were on other teams that suffered greatly on some of the Matthew Stafford 12 years in Detroit, God bless her. OBJ, he went through hell in Cleveland. Von Miller, those Bronco teams weren't great, and Jalen Ramsey was on the Jaguars. God, my goodness, haven't we suffered enough? All these people, they realize that making it to the Super Bowl and getting this far is really rare, so they're going to take advantage of that. But I think also at the same time, Matthew Stafford is also prone to total bonehead things. We haven't seen it in these playoffs, but he is capable of doing that, of just totally messing up.
So but at the same time, like, this is why I kind of lean towards the Rams, because all those names you just listed off, you have so many dudes who are top 5 at their position. And that is, we didn't name any offensive linemen. They have some pretty stacked offensive linemen.
And by the way, Aaron Donald.
Right. And defensive line is stupid good. And I don't know if you guys noticed, like, some of the social media stuff for Aaron Donald, but like, he's kind of the vocal leader that he's never really been before, because he wants it this time. That he wants the ring more than the Defensive Player of the Year award this year. And who can blame him? But it's kind of funny with Stafford. You have all these weapons. You're a gunslinger, but you have to protect the ball against the Bengals, because that's the way that they found, why they were able to beat the Titans. This is partial of the reason they were able to beat the Chiefs as well. You've got to protect the ball. But I think, too, when you have all that experience against all this inexperience of the Bengals, I thought the youth of the Bengals would help propel them to this space, but I was never confident enough to say that the Bengals would be able to utilize that youth to win the Super Bowl like the Chiefs did. All this experience, it kind of has that same vibe as last year's Super Bowl, where the Bucs were able to use their experience to take out the Chiefs. So I kind of want to lean that way.
And the Super Bowl experience, the Rams were just in the Super Bowl a few years ago. The Bengals
very different roster.
Very different roster. Yeah, Jared Goff is not. He'll be in the Super Bowl again, but the Bengals, they didn't even win before this year. They haven't won a playoff game in 30 years. So
Bengals gonna bungle. I mean, they've been to the Super Bowl 2 times before and lost. The Bengals gonna bungle.
Before you and I were born.
I still like those.
Before anybody on that roster was born, this is different.
I'm aware.
Icky Woods failed 40 years ago, therefore they will lose. But like the main thing I keep thinking of is the weakness of the Bengals is their offensive line, and the strength of the Rams is their defensive line. And I think they're just going to wreck things. And we could say, oh, yeah, well, the Titans got 9 sacks on Burrow and they still won. They won because Ryan Tannehill was hot garbage. They gave away that
Ryan
game.
Tannehill is hot garbage, but
well, he was really hot garbage in that game. And let's not assume that the Rams are just going to give away the game this time. So I think that's a huge matchup. But yeah, I'm going Rams. Plus, it's a home game. And I wonder that it's going to be like almost 90 degrees. I wonder if that's going to have any factor.
Well, it'll be in the dome.
Let me put this in perspective.
I don't think it's a dome.
Can you imagine?
I think there's open windows or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Can you imagine going into your hometown, full stadium, it's the Super Bowl, and you losing that game? The Rams are not going to let that happen. Like, the Rams are going to go in and they have to blow this team out.
Maybe.
I got the Rams. I got the Rams by 2 touchdowns.
I'm just saying, I've seen Matthew Stafford's alma mater do that a couple of times in Atlanta. The Georgia Bulldogs. Little Roll Tide joke for you there. I do think it's kind of funny. I've kind of build it as much on my show when we've been talking about the Super Bowl as 2 former first overall picks from the SEC that both happen to wear number 9 and have incredible arm talent. And one is older, hasn't been able to taste that success in his career. And the other one is the young hotshot where everywhere he goes, something amazing happens. So I think it's it sounds so weird to say Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Yes, it does.
The Los Angeles Rams have those funky new uniforms that it all just seems to kind of clash, but it really is a wonderful story. And I think even with all the strengths and weaknesses pairing up the way they do, I think we're in store for a really fantastic game.
I think
I don't know if I'm getting my own hopes up, but I really do think so.
I think it's going to be interesting. And I have so much respect for Joe Burrow because he changed a culture. That Bengals team was a mess for years. And
Did you see Mike Brown when they accepted the AFC championship?
Yeah.
He had no idea you were even allowed to do that. He never prepared that speech over 31 years. He never expected to do it.
Mike Brown is, you could argue, the worst owner in sports. The dude has no business running an NFL franchise.
Second. We all know who's number one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a few people that are in the running for that, but
Dan Snyder's at the top.
Dan Snyder is easy. That guy should be in jail, let alone. And I think they might kick him out. I don't know. There might be. They might.
At some point, they got to get tired of the noise.
There's a lot of noise. Oh boy. But Mike Brown he's a joke of an owner. He basically runs the NFL like a mom and pop store. It's like, wow, my cousin's gonna be the general manager, and my daughter's gonna do this, and my neighbor's gonna do that. I mean, it's
that's hilarious.
But for Joe Burrow, and I don't, it's funny how much better Zach Taylor has been as a coach now that he has a franchise quarterback. It's funny how that works. His IQ has increased exponentially.
But that does go back to the quarterback discussion on, you need to make sure you get not just a guy, but the guy. Andy Dalton is a fine quarterback. They had him for 10 years and never won a damn thing with him. They get this Joe Burrow dude. And sure, you fell into him, and we're just joking about it with Mike Brown. Dude never had any intention of ever winning. They fell into Joe Burrow, and now they have no choice but to be winners because of him. But when you get that guy, it's like we said at the top of the show, absolutely anything can happen.
Swing for the fences. Go for the next Roethlisberger. Go for the next, don't settle for a Jimmy G. Don't settle for a Mitchell Trubisky. Swing for the fences.
Please don't bring Mitchell Trubisky into this conversation. I do not want to even fathom the thought that he's.
That's why if they think Malik Wilson is the guy, they might go for him. They might.
I think they will. I honestly, I could see in Keith Butler is retiring after this whole trade thing. Keith Butler, I can see him moving up in the draft, making one last shot. And saying,
I think you mean Kevin Colbert, but anyway.
The other Colbert.
Yeah.
Colbert.
You said Keith Butler, who is the defensive coordinator, which he really wasn't the defensive coordinator.
Sorry.
Oh, by the way, that's another thing we need to bring up. People are giving crap about basically that Mike Tomlin is the defensive coordinator. I think more than half of the head coaches in the league are either the offensive or defensive coordinator of their team. So it's not exactly a crazy thing. It's like, oh, Mike Tomlin, he won't bring in any new people. And let's stop with this, outside hire thing. Come on, people. In any profession, in any job, in any company, bringing in an outside hire is a huge risk because you don't know what they're going to be like. So when you have somebody that you bring in the organization and that you have them there for a few years and you know what they're like, that you want to hire from within. You want to promote from within because you know those people. So come on, stop with this.
There's a lot of people in this fan base that won't admit it, but they get jealous of how other franchises operate without understanding just how good they have it. Understanding that, there's one minority coach in this league right now that would have been fired for under any other franchise, right? you have that kind of consistency. You have a franchise that has 3 coaches in the past 65 years. There, why does so much of this fan base get so hung up on thinking that the way that they do things, sure, it's old school. Sometimes if old school still works, use it. If it's not working, evolve it. I think the Steelers are in the process of evolving it, but I don't think anybody should be looking anywhere around the league except maybe New England over the past 20 years and the way that they've kind of rebuilt so quickly again. That's the only team that you even recognize a little bit. And maybe you just take what they do in free agency and that's it. You don't need to copy everything they're doing, because what you've done for the past 60 years has worked in one form or another. You've had very little downtown. Man. The standard is the standard.
And the Steelers have shown a willingness to change with the times. For example, trading their first round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick, because we never traded our first round pick before, and they did. They have changed.
And they moved to take Devin Bush. I remember being in the parking lot of like a movie theater, going into a movie and hearing that they moved up. And I was like, Steelers never move up. Who are they taking? And they took Devin Bush. And like he was supposed to be the stud. And yeah, like the Steelers are not above adapting to like the new NFL. It's just they do it in their own systematic way. So
I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at the draft chart. There's a point of value assigned to each like draft pick to determine like what could get in a trade. If they wanted to move up from 20 to 17, I think all they would need to give up is a 3rd round draft pick. That's not bad for a 3rd round draft pick to get in this scenario. If they need to trade up to 17 to get Malik Wilson, it would only take a 3rd round draft pick. That's not bad.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
I would do, yeah. That's not too
I would do
crazy.
that in a heartbeat, and then with my next pick, I take offensive lineman, like just get all the offensive linemen.
Now to go in the top 10, now we're talking. You would have to trade a 2nd and a 3rd round. They would have to trade their 2nd and 3rd round.
But I heard the quarterbacks in this draft aren't going that high.
We don't know.
Corral and Willis will, and maybe even Pickett.
Who will?
Pickett, Corral, and Willis. So they'll probably all go top 10.
Yeah,
his teams will trade in.
You think so?
It shouldn't happen, but it will because they're quarterbacks. Quarterbacks get a much higher value than they deserve because of the position, because of their quarterbacks.
And I would say, as much as I like 2 of those 3 quarterbacks, I would still only expect maybe one of them to really be a mainstay starter in the NFL with serious success. Like it's such a low percentage that any one of these guys is going to hit. Somebody's going to overspend on a quarterback, and you just hope it's not the Steelers, right? That's why I've said play it safe this whole way through, but we'll see what they do, and I'll be happy no matter what they do.
I mean, maybe go like heavy offensive line and get a Jimmy G and trade, and
I don't want Jimmy
who
G
knows what happens.
I think Jimmy G gets a bit of a bum rap because he did play with significant injuries, and Jimmy G almost took him to the Super Bowl. Jimmy G took him to the Super Bowl a few years ago, and he almost did that now. But why did that happen? Not because he was such a good quarterback. He is the exception to the rule. We've been saying you need the franchise quarterback. And look at all the teams in the playoffs. The Bills almost made it. Allen.
Well, what I'm saying is, you put Jimmy G behind a decent offensive line. You got Najee Harris. You got all those weapons. You can't get a defense.
You can't get a decent offensive line. This is why. He's the most expensive out of all of them and the most mid out of all of them.
Jimmy G is he's not cheap. You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
You have to trade for him.
All right, Marcus Mariota.
That's why I'm okay with Mariota. Like, there are middle quarterbacks that I'm willing to take, and Jimmy G would be one of them if he wasn't so ridiculously expensive.
I'm telling you, I would love to see Jameis Winston. I just have a feeling. I have a feeling he's. I don't know, but that
played really well until he tore his ACL.
But he was pretty mobile too. But We'll see. But that is the other way you go, is you either have a franchise quarterback that could carry the team on his back, or you have a mid guy like Jimmy G with a great defense and a great line and a great wide receiver and great everything else. And you could still, so that's the other path. We'll see. But fix the offensive line. It doesn't matter.
Please just fix the offensive line.
Just fix it.
Fix the offensive line. Let Najee Harris run rampant across everything.
Well, that's the other fear.
Who cares what the quarterback is?
The other fear is, look what happened with Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is damn good, and he got destroyed because he's on the Giants. You don't want poor Najee. Still had a successful season behind that offensive line, and he had to fight for every.
Najee's a different type of runner, in my perspective. And Jacob, you can definitely chime in on this because you know more about him. But Najee's a different type of runner than Saquon is. Saquon is much more Barry Sanders type, like juking and like trying to go different directions. Najee is more like, I'm gonna take a cut and just push through you, and you're gonna get out of my way. So, but you get him a good offensive line, and Najee's just gonna like Adrian Peterson that crap.
Exactly.
Like he's just gonna be like, get out of my way.
A good offensive line or a better offensive line, and you take Najee, who still had a good year with that crap, and give him a better offensive line. He's going to be a star, and
that's what I'm saying. He's gonna Adrian Peterson that crap. He's going to be like,
and then you're not putting as much, the whole team on a quarterback's back, regardless of who it is, because
bring back Michael Vick. I like put Michael Vick back in the game. Like I'm down.
Bring back. What's Randall Cunningham doing?
Right. Hey, Slash. Number 10's open.
Cordell Stewart's still available.
Stewart.
Tommy Maddox. Where's Tommy Maddox? Come on, he could come back.
Neil O'Donnell. No. He'll throw 2 interceptions. He'll throw 2 interceptions for touchdowns. It'll be fine.
Still not over that.
Oh, trust me. That is one of my first Super Bowl memories, and it will never die. I hate Neil O'Donnell for that reason.
Winning a Super Bowl is the most wonderful thing, and we've been witness to that, but being in a Super Bowl and losing is one of the worst things ever, and unfortunately we've experienced that too. And it's
my first experience was losing, and then I was gracious enough to see them win 2, and obviously we lost the one to the Packers, which we should have won, but
Rashard Mendenhall. All right, guys. This was a blast. Good.
Yeah. I'm so happy to talk more Steelers in the coming days.
Oh, we've only just begun. We've only begun this quarterback talk. It's what we're going to be talking about for the next 6 months.
It'll only get more chaotic.
The chaos has only begun.
Yes.
All right.
Everybody, see you guys. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Later, guys.